when we're forced to sell during a downturn, we're robbing our future portfolio the ability, right, that purchasing power to ever fully recover, because now we're having to sell when it's down, right? It's,
Yeah.
the idea of like selling low, right? We don't want to do that. We're trying to avoid that. The other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about too is our spending and how that changes in retirement. I think what Bengen really gets at is that we're going to continue to spend the exact same amount adjusted for inflation. I don't know about you, Scott, but I find that wildly kind of out of left field when it comes to my clients, because there's big trips they want to plan for. There's new homes they want to purchase. Life happens, right? And so what we traditionally see too is, and there was a research study done on this, I think it was Kitsis or his team that kind of quoted the go, slow go, no go years, where we tend to see a lot more spending in your late 50s, early 60s, 70s than we do in our 80s or 90s, right? And
100%.
so
yeah,
there's a lot of assumptions baked into that as well, where if we're going to spend more in retirement up front, we probably have to make some sacrifices in the later years.
Yeah. And if any of you listeners ever want to be really nerdy, there's a podcast and a website called Nerd's Eye View, which is something that we as advisors look at all the time. It's 5,000 to 10,000 word articles about very, very detailed topics, one of which Nick's pointing to right now. And it's what we see in our own practices, right? So for clients who are retired or near retirement, what we typically see is that we spend more in the earlier years of retirement than we do in the later years of retirement. So that's kind of, again, why going back to the Klinger-Guyton idea of dynamic withdrawal rates makes a lot of sense, because it lets us take more from the portfolio now, still builds in an ability to make sure that we dampen withdrawals to help make sure we have a 40-year time frame for withdrawals. So there's plenty of time to make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
But it also allows more of that money to get spent on the front end, which just makes a ton of sense, because you don't get to take it with you, right? This isn't about, if it is about leaving a lot of money to your family, you probably want to lean more to like a static lower withdrawal rate. And then we can just invest more in the stock market beyond that to get more money to your family. But that's like an individual choice for people who normally show up, who need money to live life. I think this is a good way to go.
Right. And, the same to be true too, depending on the time of retirement, like that length that we're planning for, those distribution rates are going to change. If you're, financially independent, want to retire early, the FIRE community, and we have clients wanting to retire in their 40s or 50s, the number's probably going to be a lot smaller, because we got to make sure there's enough to get you through that long of retirement, as opposed to clients that say, you know what, I really enjoy my job and I want to keep working well into my 70s. And so, the famous answer, it just depends.
That's a great caveat to bring up, because all of the research that has been done on whether it's Bill Bengen and the 4% rule, or it's the Guyton-Klinger guardrails approach, they're all designed to deal with either 30-year timeframes or 40-year timeframes. So if you are in your 40s and looking to retire, quite honestly, with the way that medical advances are occurring and the way that the average life expectancy is happening, you're probably going to live 50 to maybe 60 years in retirement. So you really need to adopt more than likely a lower withdrawal rate to make sure that you have those funds through those periods of time.